Hello, and welcome to the Contraband, where 6 Shakespeare actors play Blades in the Dark, an RPG about daring criminals seeking their fortune in the ghost-ridden city of Duskfall. This show is smuggled to you through dark canals and misty streets by Ghostlight RPGs, thus our delay, an organization dedicated to keeping the lamp lit even when the theater goes dark. If this spectral offering pleases you, we humbly invite you to follow us down this foggy channel or subscribe by leaving your mark at the dead drop. If you do, you will be notified of our activities. I am Ted Bushman, Game Master. Joining me on this tale of crime and crisis, vice and villainy, ghosts and gunfire are 5 friends. If you would please introduce yourself. Let's go Jamie, Ben, Kristin, Graham, and then Carson. Tell us a bit about yourselves, what you're doing outside of this RPG space. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jamie Hansen. I'm an actor from Hong Kong. I now live in Los Angeles. I do voice acting, motion capture acting, camera, stage, creature, anything I can do really. And yeah, been having a blast of a time playing this game and so excited to share it with everyone.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Ben. I'm an actor, musician, artist, artful type, and yeah, just keeping it real most of the time. Most of the time, I try to just do what I like.
That's great.
Hi, I'm Kristin, and I'm a writer, interdisciplinary artist, independent scholar, and community organizer, currently based at a rural community in upstate New York.
Awesome. I'm Graham Ward. In addition to being an actor, I'm also a professional dungeon master, or game master in general, but I tend to focus on D&D. I run the virtual D&D weekend events for Bald Man Games, and I also, do that in all my time while the theater is dark, in addition to being involved with Ghostlight.
Awesome. I'm Carson, Wright. I am a theater teacher here in New York, teaching 9th grade performing arts and otherwise general theatery, artisty, fun time, game time. It seems like a good package of words to describe me. But thrilled to be here. It's awesome. I am, Emma. Yes.
Yes, we have done. I think I've done like Shakespeare-y things with a lot of you. Jamie and I were in Come to Errors. Ben and I won a regional award once, or Ben did, and I was his partner.
Oh yes, my award. I'm glad you brought this up, Ted.
I was thinking the other day about the photo shoot that you took in the Elizabethan garb related to that. Do you remember this?
Oh God,
you were featured in a university magazine or something.
Yeah, somebody came and dressed me up in clothing that they had brought and took my picture to make me look like a Shakespearean dude.
He had like a quill and this. It was delightful.
It was absurd. It was absurd.
Carson and Graham were both in a play I wrote. We did a reading of it in iambic pentameter. That was like one of our bigger Shakespearean connections. And the first time that Carson referred to me as T.S. Bushman. Well, no, maybe. I don't remember.
I only read what I wrote. I mean, oh no! I did it backwards. My Raz has failed.
Oh no. Yes. And Kristin and I's major Shakespearean experience was like, I feel like talking through some of our favorite Shakespeare speeches while we were in Yosemite last year. That was really the extent of it.
I used to have a party trick though, where the nerdiest party trick where I just have someone tell me a Shakespeare play and I would pull out a soliloquy, but I can't do it anymore. So like, please don't. Like, it used to be like any Shakespeare play. It was the best party trick.
Brush this up because
I know
I'm going.
It was fun.
You know.
That's delightful. Wow, that's amazing. I am so excited to play with you all, and everyone watching, you are in for like a ridiculous treat. Everybody here's a gifted storyteller and creator and improv artist, and everybody here has like moved me with their creations and made me guffaw and laughter. It's just this like bounteous feast of creativity and intelligence overflowing into this chance for us to all be despicable criminals. I mean, yeah, some nice criminals too. I can't thank everyone involved in this without being kind of annoying. So we've got an amazing intro you're going to see made by the indomitable Carson Wright, who's also our producer and just guided us through like the utter like bottleneck of getting this working. You know, things are going to be a little bit smoother next week, but just so grateful for all the work that he has done and put into this. It's going to be amazing. You're going to see even more cool features on our overlay and stuff as it goes. The music that you'll hear during the session, whatever you'll hear, was composed by me and was originally written for this game. And there's also some amazing cello work by Rob Willis. Before we leap into narrative, it may suit our sojourning audience to learn somewhat concerning our setting. The Contraband takes place in the city of Duskfall, a rotting Victorian port and the seat of a desperate empire. Many hundreds of years ago, an event called the Breaking shattered the sun and broke the gates of death. Now the vengeful spirits of the unquiet dead haunt a dying world, and the living must take protection behind walls of electricity powered by the blood of ancient leviathans that thrum through the void sea. Imagine Duskfall as a mixture of London, Prague, and Venice that happens to be in the middle of a Gothic apocalypse. And imagine it as the perfect place for crime. Our characters are smugglers crawling through the underbelly of Duskfall, seeking fortune and future in a world that seems constantly on the verge of collapse. During previous sessions, not filmed for a live audience, they fought a long rivalry with a gang called the Foghounds and made a name for themselves. In so doing, they stole a large harpoon vessel called the Orca's Tooth, which now serves as a mobile lair. They made a number of friends who we'll be introducing and you'll get to meet. In Duskfall, every inch of turf is won. Vicious gangs, haughty nobles, hardened laborers, and lords of industry are tied in a knot of rivalries and wars and delicate alliances. You will meet these gangs and nobles. You will meet these laborers and lords, and someday, perhaps, this city could be yours. We don't play with an end in mind. We play to find out what happens. The discerning viewer will notice that our overlay is not totally in full shape this time, just in terms of what we've had to make work for this session. But I will end our intro with a content warning. The Contraband is a crime drama set in a dark and unpleasant city. Episodes will almost certainly contain strong language and violence, and may also occasionally include sex, oppressive working conditions, and encounters with the gruesome undead. So put on your black cloaks, sharpen your silver knives, and descend with us into the Contraband. Borden, you've just been punched in the face. Your head snaps back. For a moment, you're deafened. All you can hear is the throbbing of your blood in your temples and the ringing of your skull. In an instant, the roar of the crowd is back, the smell of booze and sweat. Blood streams out of your nose. You taste the hot iron on your lips as the blood drips into your beard. Graham, will you describe Bram for us? What does he look like? What is he wearing? And what is his fighting stance?
He's got a greasy beard and a bloody lip. He is wearing a three-piece tweed suit, which has been slowly pulled apart, maybe torn a bit, stained, and dampened as he's going through this fight. He is barefoot, though, and is currently kind of dancing around his opponent and trying to wait him out, get him tired, and while he analyzes his fighting style.
Awesome. You are in the middle of a fighting ring in an old warehouse in the docks off of Bargewater Canal. Drunken sailors and dockworks are crowded around you, and there are more leaning off of the balcony, bellowing and barfing into the crowds below. There's an octagon of open space around you, which has been just delineated by a chalk line. Your opponent cracks his knuckles and grins. He is a huge tattooed sailor with a rough and angular face. His nose and his right ear gleam with dull pewter piercings. He is absolutely cut. He is shirtless, wearing trousers with suspenders, and he's about 6'2". I'm not sure how tall Bram is.
About 6 foot, so a little under.
Yeah, great. So yeah, just a little short. So he sort of has a little bit of blood from your nose on his fist, and he says, "You tired, old man? What do you do?"
Bram just kind of licks his front tooth where there's a little bit of a chip, and doesn't say anything, but kind of dances an arc around him to the right, and then gets ready for a feint as the opponent throws another punch, and he's just playing with him at this point, just
Awesome.
grinning.
Great. Are you gonna roll? You want to roll a skirmish with that, or an action of a certain kind?
Yeah,
What's
I can
your-
roll.
Okay.
I can
Great.
roll a skirmish.
Amazing.
Like
so,
no
for the
one else.
But before you roll, for the viewers at home, let me explain quickly how this works. Graham is about to choose an action to roll. There are 12 actions in the game, which you'll sort of get a sense of. They range from skirmish to hunt to wreck to consort. These are all the things that criminals do. Depending on how skilled he is in that action, he'll roll a number of 6-sided dice, and then the highest number he rolls will determine the result. If he rolls a 6, that's a clean success. If he rolls a 4 or 5, that's a success with complication. Something bad happens, but he does partially succeed. A 1 through 3 will mean a failure. He doesn't succeed, and there will be consequences. So go ahead and you're doing skirmish. You get to roll 3 dice. So
Yeah.
let's see how it goes.
Yeah. So the skirmish, kind of moving around him, and I roll a 6.
Okay. So you go in for this feint. You're like dodging around him and just land, boom, this big old punch on this dude. He sort of goes back, cricks his neck, and do you say anything?
It was bloody tired.
Love it. You're still in the middle of this fight. He's looking a little bit worse for wear, but is still up. Let's jump to nearby on the balcony. Watching this fight go on, there are 2 figures. They are Jamie and Kristin's character. You're standing in the crowd on the balcony. Among the many rowdy sailors here who are shouting, there are others who are placing their bets. There's a man going around who's accepting bets to see who's going to win this fight. You see among them an opulent-looking gang lieutenant, a haughty-looking man with silver hair, wearing a fancy coat. And you have seen earlier that there's a fat purse dangling at his waist. So could you, Jamie and Kristin, describe your characters and what they're up to?
Yeah. So Varric is he's got his hair slicked back, and he's got kind of a narrow nose. He's beginning to grow a very faint bit of a mustache and beard around his face, but it's all still quite light. It's kind of barely coming in. And over his shoulders, he has his crimson velvet jacket sort of draped a la Howl in Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh,
And
heck
he's got
yes.
a pair of black gloves on. And he looks about as opulent as that lieutenant that they've noticed. And he's sort of eyeing him carefully and makes a glance over at Kristin's character.
My character is a fairly young looking girl. She might be anywhere from 16 to 25, one of those faces where you really can't tell, round, a little bit of a round face with freckles. Her hair looks like it was once dyed, but many years ago, and it's white blonde from here to here and dark below. She's wearing a simple sort of middle-class girl dress, looking around fairly innocently, and as Varric nudges her, she does the subtlest of nods and sort of gestures for him to maybe take the lead and chat up this figure.
Awesome. Yeah. So what does Jamie go? What does Varric go do?
Yeah, Varric sort of saunters over and kind of sidles up to this gentleman, looking at him sort of to the side and says, "The old one's starting to tire, I think."
Oh, do you? He like notices you're talking to him. Says, oh, do you?
Oh yes, he's clearly got nothing left in the tank. I put a whole coin on the other gentleman winning.
You put one coin.
Varric's going to reach down and pull up a purse, sort of jingle it and say, "If you're interested."
He looks at a couple of his like cronies who are around him, and they look at you sort of uncertainly, and he says, "Oh, why not? I'll do it." Pulls out his own purse, like sort of just reveals it to you by pulling aside his cloak a little bit.
The best man win.
Indeed. All right, so down below, let's jump back to Bram, who's still in the fight with this huge sailor. So he is, after getting hit, has gotten a little bit more, more intense. You can tell he's starting to swell up a little bit under his eye where you hit him. He's going at you really hard, just like blow after blow, trying to get at you though. Like Bram is still sort of dancing in and out.
Yeah, you would say this is like more my opponent's home turf, or is the place I fought before?
This is probably more his home turf in terms of like, this is at the docks. These are like one of the common fighting pits in the docks.
Sure. Okay. So let's say though that as I've been circling him, I've felt in the floor there's a spot where there's like a divot. Maybe
Sure.
One of the boards has been partially pried out or broken or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And I work over to that spot and put him on it. And while he's there, I step forward and put my heel, my bare heel, onto like the side of his foot, and then try and catch him just in the right way that he trips over my foot. And I managed to make it look like it was not done on purpose.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I keep rolling skirmish if that's
I think
okay
so.
with you.
Sure. Yeah. I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
One trick pony. I roll a 5.
Okay. So the moment happens, and you're able to like knock him out, get him to make the trip, make the fall. In the process, however, he grabs onto your lapel, pulls you down with him, and slams, like you slam onto him first, and then slam your face down onto the planks. So you're gonna take level 1 harm from this. So now you can choose to resist if you would like.
Yeah, I will resist.
Okay.
And the way he'll resist is by deflecting with humor. So as his head comes up from hitting the floor, you can see blood kind of pouring out of his nose, and he says, "You gotta buy me a drink before you can take me home." As I'm kind of sprawled on top of him, and I grin, and then I let a little bit of blood drip onto his face.
Oh, amazing.
Okay, so for resisting.
Yeah, well, you
I'll
just
roll
take
3.
the pips. Yeah, the 3, and then take 6 stress minus the highest number you roll.
Great. Okay, so I take 1 stress.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, stress is a sort of marker of the wholeness of your character. As stress increases, there's no penalty, but once you fill out a stress bar, your character becomes comatose and then gains a permanent trauma. So it's sort of this interesting health variant. Anyway, it's a cool mechanic. You'll learn more about it by watching as we continue to play.
Yeah, so I'll keep grinning at him, and as I assume someone is encouraging us to get back on our feet and stop tussling in the hay.
Absolutely.
Bram says, "What do you think? You still got time to leave if you want."
He says, "No, you're the one who's leaving." And comes back at you. We have like the great like jump cut of like as the fist comes at you, we jump back to Varric and to Jilly, Tess, whoever this person is. So yeah, what's going on with you guys? Wait on
I've seen the purses now, right? Like,
Yep.
Like as they're sort of betting, I'm sort of assessing where these are, what the weaknesses are.
Yes.
I would love to start lurking up behind, sort of looking around, so innocent, sort of confused about what's happening, a little concerned. There's fighting down below. Oh dear. And use a knife to try and cut a few purse strings here while Varric keeps chatting up the the
Nice.
group.
Yeah, would
Nice,
you like some
yeah,
assistance with
yeah.
that?
I would love for you just to chat them up, distract them.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Varric will take a stress to aid, and then that will give you another die on your attempts. So do you what do you feel would be most appropriate? Prowl or finesse seem pretty good. What would you like to roll?
I think finesse makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Great.
And I get the extra dice from the assist.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
You'll have your
Varric
list.
loudly claps the guy on the back and is like, "You see that? Hit? Your man's going down."
That's
5.
great. Okay, so you go through with your knife, you're like cutting these little strings off, and then you catch them before they're gonna make any noise, and like try to be really careful about that pocket if you pocket a third one. And then one of the cronies, who's this large woman, she turns. She's got piercings all along her left eye. She sort of looks in your direction and says, she hasn't necessarily noticed, but she goes, "Are you lost, miss?" And then she looks at you and sort of like, and you're sort of creeping and seeing your knife, and looks at you in confusion. What do you do?
Oh, miss, I'm so glad. I think I might be lost. I wandered in off the streets. I heard shouting. I thought maybe something terrible is happening, and I believe it is. What revelry is this down below?
As she says this, Bram in the ring, makes an obscene gesture at the crowd, and then smacks him on the back of the neck with his elbow.
Amazing. Probably someone is like from the crowd is like holding like a bottle of wine, is like jamming out to you, like, take a drink, Borden. You're like,
oh yeah, okay. He grabs it.
Yeah, throws it back. Amazing. Yeah. So the woman is still looking at you in confusion. What role would you like to make to try and convince her? It could be a sway or consort.
I will
Probably
do sway.
All right. Yeah. Let's do it.
4.
Okay, great. So what happens is you basically, as she sort of looks in confusion away from you, to like look at this revelry that's happened, that you're noticing, that you're like pointing out as Jillier, and she sort of looks in confusion, and in that moment you reach out, snip her cord, and you now have all of the purses. But in that moment, however, she looks back and says, "What the fuck are you talking about? This is a fight. You know this is a fighting ring." And the lieutenant turns around and says, "What the hell is going on here?" and pulls out his sword. So you guys are now you've now stepped away. You could pretty easily slip into the shadows from here. You have now gained 1 coin's worth of take off of these folks. In the meantime, Graham, let's get one final fight roll and see how this went for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll roll another skirmish, and this one is just an absolutely reckless haymaker. It's got kind of like a weird downward angle.
Amazing.
Absolutely no technique left in him at this point. He's actually pretty tired, but he tends to... Oh, he is very tired because I rolled a 3.
Oh, no. So what happens is you go for this haymaker, and the dude like dodges out of it, comes back with another hit. Like you float, like feel yourself floating up into the air, and then this other fist like pounds you down into the cement, onto the boards. The guy taunts you with, "Oh, big man thinks he's real tough. What is it he does for a living? This Mr. Borden eats out of the refuse bins, I heard." You've been knocked down, and that he holds you down, and that's the end of the fight. You have just lost the fight.
Oh no!
Yeah. So this wasn't the Mudfire Crown. This wasn't any ranked competition. But from your position down on the ground, like looking at that up through bleary eyes, you look up and see. You see like something happening up on the balcony. So Varric and Jilly, what's your plan?
Start talking. Varric, seeing how the fight has gone down and seeing this man draw a sword, say, look, there's no need to be a sore loser. Your man lost. Now it's time to pay up.
Classic.
Make the roll. Is this
I
consort?
love that you were betting against like your friend.
It's win-win. It's win-win. All right. Yeah, I think. I mean, this is. It sounds like a command to me, but I'm not great at that. I don't.
Sure.
I might go with sway. Can
Sure, I can see that. Yeah.
All right. Because I am trying to distract.
Yes.
Oh, a 6.
Okay. Great. So you're trying to distract so that.
I'm also I'm trying to kind of throw suspicion off of Julia, and also possibly get the attention of the man who's been taking bets, like to have the people who run the establishment kind of be like, hey, this guy's not paying up on his bets.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so that's exactly what happens. You see all of them sort of get distracted. The gang lieutenant, who's from the gang called the Butchers, who you haven't encountered much. They're mostly centered in Coleridge. He looks around and sort of perplexed at what's going on. Says, "What are you? I don't even. What the?" And he looks down to see that his purse is gone. But in the meantime, there's a young boy who comes and says, Gentlemen, just want to say, sounds like there's some rumors of cheating in here. We can't have cheating. This is a very official establishment." Someone in another fist fight on the balcony tumbles off into the fray below.
And while all that's happening, I would like to be prowling away.
Yes, do it. Yeah, go ahead and make your prowl. Let's see how that goes. You got this.
5.
Okay.
Lots of 5s.
So, basically, what ends up happening is Tess and Varric, you end up outside of the warehouse. You've gotten out, but there are people actively following you. Bram, you're probably managed to make it just in time to sort of meet up with them. You're sitting here kind of dazed and confused.
People might have seen Bram after a fight normally is, all the life of the party. This might be the first time anyone's seen him lose, or maybe the second time for some of you. But he's very sullen as he comes out, and he looks a little bit more buttoned up than normal. He just, despite the fact that he lost.
Yes. So jumping a little ways away, down the street about 500 feet or so, on the edge of the canal, there is a small wooden boat that has these little animal sculptures in it. It's kind of weirdly opulent for a rowboat. Why would anyone decorate a rowboat this intensely? It is newly repaired and varnished, and you can see that a couple of the animal figures are totally missing because they were destroyed at some point in the past. Who knows what that was about? But there are 2 figures hanging around this boat who are Hix Templeton and Aldo Basran. So Ben and Carson, tell us about your characters, what they look like, and what they're doing before you see your 3 friends leaving the warehouse.
Hix is a little more than average tall and a little bit under average thick, languid and fair, dressed sort of like Robert Plant when Led Zeppelin played Madison Square Garden. These tight denim pants that flare out and a loose flowing blouse. An androgynous person, perhaps leaning a little more on the masculine side of that. Smoking a cigarette very thoughtfully with a glazed look in their eye, just gazing out onto the canal as Aldo works nearby.
Love it. Yeah, and Aldo.
Aldo, Basran is probably about 5'10", so a little shorter than some of his other friends who have specifically mentioned their heights. So I love a good height. Yeah. And wearing kind of like a dark forest green, almost kind of long coat, under which pretty standard looking shirt, vest combo, pointed boots, with a nice heel to it, a good click on the cobblestones.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta have.
Oh yes.
Gotta work it, Aldo.
Oh yeah, and a beautiful mustache goatee combo. Generally a pleasant face, complexion, eyes, smile as much as his mouth does. So, and at this moment, I think Aldo's sort of whistling here as we're waiting, a little just soft out of his mouth, as he sort of creeps up, and Hix approaches Hix very quickly and just jabs a quick little needle into his shoulder.
What the fuck is this?
What do you feel? Tell me. Talk me through it. Talk me through it.
I feel relaxed. And do you ever feel, Aldo, like your body is like an interface?
Kind of like a...
Like you are like something through which another is acting. Like there's something about the things that you do and you say that are in control of by some other. You ever feel that way?
I cannot say I have, and I suppose now may be a good time to ask, are you on anything currently? It might muddy the results.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I like a good after-dinner cocktail as much as anybody else.
Well, of course. Tell me, though, if you start to see a little fuzzy, let me know that would be important.
I'll let you know if I have a problem, Aldo. Thank you.
Sort of like slips the syringe back into an inside pocket and kind of keeps whistling and turning around every once in a while to kind of look at him.
Amazing. As you guys are finishing up this small testing process, you see at some distance, you see three figures coming towards you who may be going a little bit faster, since behind them there are several shouting people saying, "Hey, you, get back here!" This is Varric, Tess, and Bram, who are being pursued by several of these members of the Butchers. So they're headed towards your boat. Basically, you can arrive at the boat with you get all three of you arrive at the Rough Penny, finding Aldo and Hix there. Do you guys do anything before you set out from the place?
Oh, hey, guys.
As we jump into the boat, Bram says, I told you, you don't do anything like that. Well, I'm fighting, all right? It messes with the juju. That's why I lost.
You were supposed to win. If you'd won, I would be able to act as though I was pickpocketed,
Well,
and
how
maybe
can
none
I
the wiser.
fucking win when you're up there working the gig?
As I'm like firing the engine up.
I pull out a little bit of coin and kind of slap it into Brahm's hand. Well, it's not all bad. It's not all bad now, is it?
I guess not.
Wiping blood off my lip.
And I'll wave to our pursuers on the shoreline and say, I really don't know what all of this is about, these revelries. I guess and then just
I'll wave
as
too.
they-
I don't even know who these people are.
As the boat just sort of...
There's like these tattooed assholes who are like...
Yep, the boat sort of slides away smoothly into the night with like a little belch from the coal engine. Meanwhile, these folks from the Butchers sort of come to the edge of the docks, and the captain takes one of the cronies takes his hat off and throws it to the ground, sort of half-heartedly.
And does he stomp on it with 2 feet?
the jump.
Yeah. Oh, rats!
Yeah, full cartoon.
I think as we go down the line a little bit, at some point when it's quieted down, Aldo just kind of turns to Bram and goes, "You lost?"
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, all right?
Sort of judgmental, but like kind of like that's all.
Great.
Don't test me.
We cut to about a half hour later. All five of you are in the Rough Penny. This is your boat that you've used for some time. The night air is cool, with an occasional sharp wind biting through your coats. The scent of briny water and the smell of new varnish fill your nostrils. In the dark, you can barely see the passing facades of the district of 6 towers. You are headed south now along the Mist River. Before you, you can see the factories of Coleridge that belch smoke into the dark velvet sky. Above them, woven like a cat's cradle around the fingers of a red-skinned child, the blue electric tram lines cross and intersect. Duskvol's industry is on full display. You know where you're headed, the east edge of Night Market, to a tenement slum called Underlight, inhabited largely by the Railjacks, who are the employees of Duskville's rail system that you now see on display above you. You know that there's a laboratory in the basement of one of those tenements, and that's where you're making a pickup, which also is helpful because you now have an alibi for the evening since you just got into a big fight at the ring. You know, people know where you were technically, and now you've slipped away to do this job. We already got sort of a bit of what was happening, but does anything else happen as you ride? Are you talking about other things? Who's piloting the boat? And also, how much gear is everyone carrying with them?
I think I will pilot the boat, and I am sitting at a medium.
Great, cool.
Bram is currently strapping on his heavy load out of one of the cargo compartments in the boat.
Yeah.
Just gearing up. He had everything ready to go, and he's like,
I don't like working right after losing a fight. It's bad luck.
Don't lose next time.
Yeah, but that's not my fault, is it?
I told you, you do a little bit of edge, a little bit of, one of these, and this would not be a problem. You'd win every time.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Varric is changing out of his opulent jackets and kind of putting on more, inconspicuous clothes. And he is also, I think he was at a light load while the fight, and he'll switch over to normal loads.
Wonderful.
And start slipping things into pockets.
Yeah, great.
Hix will be a normal load.
Great.
Yeah, the girl is also gonna be in a normal.
Awesome. So you all have this sort of proprietary ability. One of the upgrades that the crew chose early on in the game was smuggler's rigging, which means that they have all this stuff underneath their clothes that allows them to hold more items while being less visible. So load is a mechanic that allows them to decide how much stuff they're carrying into a score, but also that will affect how visibly they might be carrying weaponry or other things. So with their specific ability, even people with a normal load look like regular citizens. And even if they have a heavy load, they basically just look like someone with some gear on them. So anyway, that's kind of a cool, so in this case, they've got this cool ability that allows them to do this a little bit more easily. You eventually arrive at in Underlight. So you park the boat somewhere. We can make a call about it, maybe tied up against the side of the canal, climb up a sort of ramp of cobblestone, and find yourself in Underlight. It's a neighborhood of rather run-down tenements, sagging under the weight of hundreds of years since their construction. They're stained with soot and electric scarring. You eventually descend a stair into the street that heads downward. This is irregular. In most parts of the city, a stair like that would lead into a canal or a sewer, but in Underlight, there is a whole district beneath the surface district. It is lit up all with this blue electroplasmic light that is powered by Leviathan blood, lightning oil. There are posters, you notice, that are plastered on the walls down here. A lot of them are unionizing posters. They're these simple sketches that say things like, "Who's pocketing your pay?" Or you see one that shows a silhouette of a railjack with his arm caught between two massive gears, and it says, "Machines get taken care of when they malfunction. Do you?" You also see among these posters a 10-foot tall drawing of a familiar face, the gaunt, cold features of Ruthus Engim, chairman of the board of the Ministry of Preservation, who the Railjacks are employed with. His enormous features stare at you icily as you pass. His shock of white hair descends onto his slim shoulders. In bold letters beneath the drawing are the words, "The city must survive. We are all the Ministry." You encounter, as you're going through these streets looking for your final destination, there's a rowdy group of Railjacks. They're no identifiable. They have these striped pantaloons. I'm imagining sort of like a cool steampunk version of like the train conductor look, with like these striped caps, bluish colored. They're all drunk, and they're sitting on the edge of this little canal, but they're kind of blocking your way. And as you come closer, one of them says, "Hey there, you don't work for the Ministry. Let's see your badges, huh?" But they're still blocking your way. How
Do we recognize any of them?
You don't know any of them. Yeah, the Railjacks, there are probably a few hundred Railjacks who work for the Ministry.
Bram kind of like looks around to the rest of the group. Like I should be the one who fits in well with these types, but he is not in a mood to consort. So he's just sort of looking wide-eyed at the rest of you, nursing his lip.
We're going to visit this drug lab, and presumably they told their people to lay off. So this would be unexpected, I would imagine.
Yeah, part of it would be the Railjacks are a large enough group that the ones who you interact with may not have communicated to everybody everything about what's going on. So this is a large. It's like essentially this is an entire employment sector, and you're dealing with a specific group of people who are attempting to unionize within that group. So they might not know about the lab. They probably wouldn't actually.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I'll just say, badges. I think I got it in here somewhere. I'm gonna be patting down my coat, and I'm gonna pull out a bottle of fine whiskey from my personal collection.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay.
And
That's a heavy load.
A very heavy load. Yes. I'm gonna say I think that this was it. Do you recognize this one?
That's great. Yeah, let's roll a consort on that. That would be with great effect if you succeed. So even a reduced roll would have improved effect.
Great. That's a 5.
Okay. So the man who sort of pointed you out, he sort of pauses drunkenly as if trying to think of something clever to say, and then another one of them says, "That's exactly what my badge looks like. Actually, would you mind if I took a look at it?"
Of course. I see the badge on you now.
He takes it and goes, just see, you put it, and he like holds it up against his chest, trying to like make it look like the label look like a badge.
Very, very fetching.
Oh.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
They say, please, you go right ahead. You just take. You have a good evening, okay? And then start shouting after you as you go, just a little bit, in their enthusiasm. But they let you pass without problem.
Okay, that's enough of that.
You continue along the underlight canal streets, and eventually you reach a painted blue door, which is marked with a number that you were informed would be the right one, which is 414 under Altuara. The door cracks open, and you see a somewhat familiar face. Pike Renfort says, "Oh, come in. Ugh." And he shuffles you inside. Says, "Good to see you, gentlemen, and you, miss. Nice to meet you." Pike Renfort. He takes off his hat. He has his like thin mouth is covered with a big bushy mustache, and his kind of small eyes are covered with these big caterpillar brows. He's a pretty thin man. Like most Railjacks, he has a number of bluish ghost burns on his arms, which are like somewhat crystallized. They're kind of a pale grayish right now, but if ghosts were to come nearby, they would glow a bright blue. So he's not alone in this front hallway where he's welcome to. It's sort of a cement hallway. There's a number of Railjacks here. One of them, a young man, comes up to you. His mop of black hair covers his pallid face. He grins brightly and says, Are these them, Pike? Are these the smugglers?"
Yeah, we're the smugglers, you idiot.
Oh yeah, of course. I should have known. I'm really sorry about that. I'm really sorry.
No. Please forgive him. He's upset because he did a bad job at his fight tonight.
Yo, he doesn't want your forgiveness. Yes, we're the smugglers. Where's the stuff?
I can show you. Here, come with me. And Pike sort of smiles as this very enthusiastic young man like sort of follows. You head down another flight of stairs deeper into this area. It looks like this might have once been a boiler room or something. There's like it's rather large, pretty empty. There's like one. There's like a closet door in there. As you're walking down, Pike says to you, "Don't know if you've seen the streets, but not everyone is catching the vision. We've been trying to get private meetings with the Ministry of Preservation, make our case to become the Union, but anyway, we've got a meeting this next week, so hopefully it'll go well. But this coin that we're going to be getting from this quicksilver, that's going to help us a big deal. So we want to thank you for your help with this."
Yeah, where is it?
You end up in this boiler room sort of laboratory, and there are two people talking there. There's an old man in his 70s and a woman in her 50s. The woman is talking. She says, I'm not a spark right, Dad. I can't make the thing work with sap gum and a handful of wires. And the old man says, oh, perfect timing. I suppose you're Pike's friends. Well, I'm afraid we've got nothing impressive to show you. And the woman says, Dad, I'm going to be honest. No matter what, I'm not going to put on a false face just because these men are helping us make money. I'm Elias Chain. We have your goods for you. Just the laboratory is a mess at the moment, so very sorry about that. He reaches out a wrinkled hand.
I'll take it. Shake it. Pleasure to meet you. Hix Templeton. Please,
Pleasure.
we're on a bit of a schedule.
Of course. This is my daughter, Valerie Chain, and the little boy he's like 17, but he sort of nods ferociously, says, I'm Peter, that's my mum, and that's my grandfather. 3 generations of Railjacks. And meanwhile, Elias says, all right, boy, they were coming for the stuff. Come help me with it. They bring out 4 large steel canisters. They are about 3 gallons apiece. They're heavy and they're hefty, and they slosh and echo with the quicksilver inside them. Before you take them, Elias lifts off sort of the lid off it, and you look inside, and it's this sort of glowing mercury. Quicksilver is a drug that is treated electroplasm, the stuff that ghosts are made out of. And so it is treated in a different way than would make lightning oil. This stuff is instead used as a sort of trance-inducing drug that allows you to connect a little bit better with the ghost field, which is sort of this strange other world that is connected to the world in Duskfall.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, several of us have used this before.
Yes, you have indeed. Yeah, you took some at while going to the theater.
Not I.
Yes, Aldo did not.
So as they take the top off of this, I'll be like, you won't mind if I sample this, since this is the first time we're working together.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Here, let me get you something for it. And he gets out a small cup for you to take a shot of it, essentially.
Great. I'll just dip my pinky into the cup, just a little drop on the tongue.
Yeah, you sense this there's this immediate sort of electric buzzing, and then for a second, and then it fades away, and you just feel the slight distance from the world, and you can tell just so faintly, just this it's practically an intimation that there is a ghost 300 meters away out on the river somewhere. You can just sense this a little bit, but there's this sort of tranquility and outerness that comes into you.
I'll hand the rest of the cup to Bram.
Just toss it back to the Railjack.
Amazing. He catches it. Yeah. How is it? I don't take it myself. Valerie tested it. She said it was all right.
Seems all right. We're happy.
Good. Glad to hear it. Yeah. So you've got 4 large metal canisters. What are you doing with them? How are you getting them out of here?
I mean, my thinking was that we're gonna have our cohort, the maimed Leviathan hunters, do the heavy lifting.
Heck yeah, yeah.
That is why we
That's why
got
we hired
involved
him.
with them after all, so that we
Yeah.
wouldn't have to carry heavy things anymore.
Yep. So
Coming
we're gonna
up
make
in the world.
Yeah, so we're going to make a flashback, which will be free, no stress for this flashback. So we're going to imagine, boom, that instead of just the rough penny, there was another boat alongside you. This is a metal boat, which is one of the dinghies connected to the Orca's Tooth, your mobile lair. And in it were 4 individuals. Arisha Frost was their leader. There's also Tormus and Hawk and a 4th person. They were all previously Leviathan hunters. Leviathan hunters are these sailors who go out into the wild void sea beyond Duskfall and hunt these immortal, enormous whales. Imagine something 100 times larger than a blue whale. These are just these titans that roam the sea, but their blood is incredibly powerful and can be used essentially as oil or electric power. So the city is powered on Leviathan blood. Anyway, these folks, Arisha, Tormus, and Hawk, all once were sailors for one of these ships, but were all maimed during the process. They were all damaged so much that the Leviathan hunters sort of threw them to the curb uncaringly about their fate. So Arisha is missing one eye. She's missing a leg and a hand. So she has a replacement leg. Tormus has his entire arm has been replaced with a sort of electrical machine that sparks a little bit. He gives Varric a stern look every time he sees him, because at one point Varric used his arm as an explosive to scare off some ghosts. And Hawk is missing both legs below the knee. He has like 2 peg legs, and he also has he's missing several fingers off of his left hand and has a hole through his palm about the size of a dowel. So these guys are, but they are incredibly capable and mobile, very good at tech, making these things work. So they're efficient and smart and pretty serious. So they come in after you, and Arisha grabs one of the tanks, puts it up on her shoulder, and says, "All right, we ready to go?"
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Aldo has definitely wandered over to whatever they were working on. This whole time that they're drinking this stuff, whatever this gadgetry was, it's one of those wandering near it, looking at it. Somebody, please tell me what this is.
Sure. Yeah. So you were going over to all of this tech. There's this sort of refining process. There's sort of this chemical station. There's also a station that appears to apply electricity to the raw ectoplasm that is sort of shaping it to some degree. And as you're working on it, Valerie comes over and says, "You a bit of a tinkerer? You do a bit of engineering yourself?"
Yes. I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, well, it's we had a malfunction. One of the pipes in the processing bit. It's problematic. That's why my father was sort of upset. Anyway, it'll be fine by the next shipment. No problem at all. He's just a bit prideful about these things. He cares a lot about his work.
I want to know if I could just fix it. Can I know that with a study roll? If it.
I mean, you could just try a tinker and sort of poke at it and see if you can.
Yeah, immediately I think he just jumps right in and he starts
Yeah. I love it.
I will roll a 6.
Okay. Yeah. So as the maimed Leviathan hunters are picking up this stuff, and actually Tormus takes a big old glob of the quicksilver, which is it has the same sort of. It's sort of like mercury itself, in that it doesn't follow the same rules as most liquid. So it's sort of floating around his hand a little bit in this very strange way as he gets these drips off of it. And his eyes just glow a little bit blue as he takes it. But he just lets some pain out of his shoulders. Meanwhile, you guys are working at the lab. You, Aldo, immediately crouch down, open up this wooden opening in this thing, and looking up and sort of the piping and what's gone on there. After a moment, Elias comes back over and says, "Oh, is there something I can help you?" And then you point out, you sort of have this moment of "Ha, Eureka!" Just your hand comes up above the counter or whatever.
Sure.
And you're all, you realize the clog sort of has happened with it, and how you could get it undone. And basically in the course of 3 minutes, you get this thing repaired. And you start to see as some ectoplasm from these containers that they have are it's pouring into this large glass globe that is sort of filling with that and other vapors. They're pouring salt and other things into it that make this this very interesting glowing concoction inside the machine.
Well, that should fix it. Get you started on your next shipment.
Well, thank you. I'm embarrassed that we needed outside help, but thank you very much.
He puts a hand on his shoulder. Nothing to be embarrassed by, and he's gonna follow his friends out.
The little boy.
Is...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was Peter Chain, the young son of Valerie, goes, "That was amazing! Did you see? You're incredible. Maybe you could come. You come work with us. You could. That was so cool." He was very excited.
As Aldo's
Bram?
approaching the rest of the group, Bram is lighting up a little, one of those small old-timey cigars, just kind of leaning against something, maybe the tunnel wall or whatever. And he's just eyeing Aldo down. And as you approach, he says,
You trying to get a recipe or something?
I find that a little bit of information. Everything becomes useful when you're making things.
You think these folks know what they're doing?
I would say yes. Does that seem right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a pretty good setup. I mean, one thing you notice is that like, a lot of the tubing, like the glass tubing that's putting this all in, these are sourced from a lot of different places. This is pretty haphazard. They have had to essentially build this lab part by part to make sure that it wasn't detected by the Bluecoats. So that's really their major issue. The engineering is pretty solid.
It's like
If sometimes like a little bit, there's like, you can tell that they have a little bit of disregard for being actually electrocuted. There's a lot of bare wire, but they're pretty used to that. So like it seems a little bit experts only. Like it's the kind of thing where it's not as safe. So.
yes, I think the product should be good enough. Of course, they could stand to use a few upgrades here and there, but nothing that won't get the job done.
All right. Good.
Yeah. So you all head out.
Ted, I have a
Yes,
question
please.
about the illegality of drugs in the Duskfall laws,
Yes.
because there's a big difference. Like, are people? Is it illegal to use these drugs, or is it just illegal to make them? Is it illegal to transport them? Is it illegal? Like, what's? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe
that's a
I'm
good
putting you
question.
on the spot here. Like, maybe
No,
there's some thinking you want to do about this, but
I think quicksilver is likely. Probably production and transport are explicitly illegal, especially in large quantities. There was recently a crackdown. It probably is the kind of thing that no one would bat an eye about casual use. Like, no one's going to stop you for having quicksilver on the street.
like taking quicksilver on the street. Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to stop you for that. So I think there are other drugs and substances that are more tightly controlled. Quicksilver is sort of mid-level. It's like a level above how we treat marijuana, not how we treat marijuana for white people, but how we treat marijuana for black people.
Sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous. So anyway, but I think that's probably how it worked for Quicksilver. I will I'll get a whole treatise on drug.
Thank you. Yes, please write something detailed for me, because it's relevant for Hix's
It
interests.
is. You guys are smugglers. This is essential. Yeah.
Yeah, we move this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did a big old doc about contraband materials that I sent to you by one time in the past, Ben, but I should send that to everyone. Just so different kinds of things that are contraband in Duskfall, including most animals. There's like a list of 100 allowed animals in Duskfall, and everything else is illegal,
So weird.
including
Cool.
chickens, which no one is allowed to own. Anyway, so but, chickens are not allowed.
The chicken is the animal of the devil, didn't you know? That's what the church says.
Yeah, come on, exactly. So you're let's say that you're leading someone should lead a prowl action for our group, the Leviathan Hunters, probably to get you out of here without being detected by anybody on the routes. Anyone want to be in charge of that?
I can lead it. I was planning on like supervising them as they're loading up and not helping physically at all. Just like use your back. Use your back. Yes.
I love it. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, make
Great.
the
I'll
roll.
go
Let's
ahead
see
and
it.
I'll go ahead and aid you. I mean, I have this. So I'm using the Spider playbook. I have the Foresight special ability, which allows me to aid a teammate without paying stress.
Yeah,
So I'll go
awesome.
ahead and aid you. And this is that in preparation for this score, I figured out what the patrols of the Bluecoats and the canals look like.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so let's make that roll and see how it goes. So you get an extra die from Hix.
All right. Highest is a 6.
Okay, amazing. That's success. Clean
Love it.
success. So you guys head out through Underlight, and there are a couple moments where Hix sort of stops you and goes, "Hey, there's a patrol that way," and you like turn just as you see like 4 Bluecoats coming by with a lantern. It's pretty dark at this point. It's now probably about 2 a.m. But you do sort of keep sneaking past and eventually get down to your boats. There are the 2 boats now against the canal. You see a couple of like rag pickers who are these people who like swim through the canals, like not with full boats. They have like these weird paddles and like put on these strange like rubber paddles on their feet to allow them to swim a little bit faster. But they look up at you like ghouls. Their eyes light up like deer in the dark, and then they like swish off into the dark and are gone.
Whoa.
Yeah, freaking weird. You you make it into the boats. You've got all the things packed up. They're covered probably. And as Varric is sort of telling everyone, how to do things, Tormus, who's holding 2 of the barrels, just goes, "Oh, fuck off." Yeah. But
Pointedly doesn't hear it.
Yes. Love it. So you make it down into the boats and you start heading up north along the Mist Rivers, heading back to the northeast end of Six Towers, which is another 20-minute boat trip. As you are getting partway up there, you see a boat which you are able to recognize as being a Bluecoats Canal Patrol boat. This is one that's unexpectedly out of its patrol range for the evening. And as you are pretty distant from it, you see a hand wave off of it and say, "Oh there!" But they give no specific instruction besides that.
How many people are on that boat?
There are probably 10 Bluecoats, between 5 and 10.
Whole cops.
And are we all on the Rough Penny and the Leviathan Hunters are on the Orcus?
That's your call. That's your call. Oh, you're not on the Orcus Tooth. You'd be one of the dinghies of the Orcus Tooth. The Orcus Tooth is a little bit too big, probably.
Too large,
Yeah, but you're on two small engine boats. You could be distributed however you want. That's your call once things happen.
Wow.
I feel like we're not going to be able to talk our way out of this with 10 cops.
I can talk my way out of anything. Trust me.
Varric? Perhaps now you can. Historically, not so.
Well, we have been
Be
working
real.
on it, so
All right, should we do it?
now
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, Varric.
Okay.
Evening, officer. You sort of
Mind
waves a
Mind
hand.
if we have a quick inspection, just making sure everything's all right?
Don't
Inspection.
forget your objectives. To Varric.
Hix like kind of slinks down into the boat because Hix is gonna get mouthy with the cops, so probably better like sit down and shut the fuck up.
Julie takes Hicks's coat and sort of like puts it over his face in annoyance, like.
And Aldo will be at the engine. Waiting.
It's also possible you could be distributed among the 2 boats, and you could also opt to only have one of the boats go to the Bluecoats at your choice.
Yeah, I'd like to be on the boat with the Leviathan Hunters.
Great,
And
yeah.
how many barrels of the quicksilver do we have?
4 barrels, about 3 gallons per.
They're big. Okay, so
chunky.
so I'll be on there with the Leviathan Hunters, just slowly loading my largest flintlock pistol.
Oh,
Okay. Great. Yeah. So the rough penny is the one pulled over by the cops, and as you're slowed, like a single hook with a rope on it sort of cut and says, "Incoming," and tossed like very gently, underhanded into the boat for someone to catch.
I don't get up.
Yeah.
The girl will grab it and sort of start pulling us towards them.
Great. Yep. And they're also pulling, getting you closer together, and eventually a man with a sort of just almost the beginnings of a beard, he's bald, comes down into the boat with one other person, this sort of smaller woman who's writing some things down. And the first thing you notice about the man is that he is clearly drunk. He's a cop. The Bluecoats are the law and order force of Duskfall. They are notably corrupt. They're like widely considered basically just the biggest and worst gang in Duskfall. Not that they're the most powerful, but just that they're the most numerous. This officer comes down and says, "Good evening, how are you?" Oh, go ahead. Ben.
Guess
What
I'm
is
not
she-
the only one drinking tonight.
Well, what is she like? You said that there was another woman who was taking notes. What is she like? Is she drunk or is she with it?
She looks a little bit sleepy. She's working on things, kind of nodding off a little bit as she's like scrolling. And like if one of you looks over her shoulder, you'll see some of the notes are coherent and others of them are just.
I just can't believe these fuckers are like coming up to us like they got something on us.
mhm.
They got turned around. You know, they don't even know where they're meant
Hix
to be.
needs to shut up.
Like mumbling beneath his coat.
Fucking cops like drunk and tired.
Yep. All right. So what? What do you do? So they walk in and say, "Oh, good evening."
Oh, thank goodness you're here. We've just been attacked by these horrible gentlemen, and Varric's going to describe all of the butchers to the Bluecoats. They attacked me. They took my purse and they took off in another boat. Just going down that way. I think you can catch up to them soon if you hurry.
I love it. Let's make a roll for this. I'll offer you a devil's bargain. A devil's bargain for any viewers is that at some points, devil's bargains can happen. They're just like basically an idea of something that will happen no matter whether you succeed or fail. And I get to offer it. And if Jamie accepts it, he gets another die in the roll. I'll say for this one that if you take this devil's bargain, they will like take this into like kind of a serious case and will like try like sort of take your information and like treat you as like a central witness in whatever crime that you're sort of imagining occurred.
Okay.
Will you take it?
No, I'm gonna stick to just.
Sounds good. You can also push yourself if you'd like. I know that I'm advocating a lot of aiding and pushing these days, and it's your call.
I will leave it as a straight roll.
Do it.
No.
Do it.
5.
Okay. The man says, "That is very unfortunate to hear that you've been robbed. We'll have to send Ms. Beth. Take it down. Take down that there's been a robbery. Could you just show me a little bit about what might have been stolen? Show me the boat a little bit."
I'm afraid it's a terrible mess. They've smashed half of my statues. You can see, and Varric's going to gesture to the some of the broken animal carvings.
Uh-huh.
I can't bear to allow you to look in. It's in such a state. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. You're gonna make let's make another roll to attempt taking this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
let's pull another sway.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Anyone want to aid? Good. No. What's happening? No choice.
I can't conceive of Bram aiding that. He's just sitting sullenly in the boat with the 4-gallon or the 4 tanks, and he's just like shaking his head at the whole situation, smoking a cigar.
How'd it go?
Another 5.
Okay, great. So the guy comes up to you and he steps down and says, "All right, well," he comes and looks at the image of these.
They're in the boat.
Go ahead.
They are in the boat.
I think they just stepped down into the boat. Yeah, well, he did. He's coming to look at these animals that Varric has pointed out.
I wanted to. Sorry, can I
Go
goose the engine as they try to come over? Just like, not like
Yes.
not like let's take off, but
No, but like, whoops, accidentally.
yeah, like oh.
Yeah,
I'm
let's do
sorry.
it. Let's do it. Make that roll. Yeah, however you want to do it. I don't know. What would you do?
I feel like I gotta finesse it to make
Sure.
it to kind of fake it.
Make it look authentic.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it's a 3.
Oh no. Okay, so I think what happens is this guy is stepping down into the boat. You rev the engine. He falls forward, and his skull slams into your skull.
Oh.
You both like boom take this big hit as he tumbles to the ground, and you fall as well. So you're gonna take level 1 harm stunned unless you choose to resist it.
Sure.
Yeah, your call.
Yeah, we can resist it.
Okay.
5.
Okay, so you take 1 stress.
I'll do that.
Instead of taking the harm, that would be sort of a persistent effect. The man sort of cries out, "Oh, whoa, oh, goodness gracious!"
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so tired, falling asleep. I leaned onto it. And I'll help him up and kind of look at everybody like, shit, sorry.
All right, okay. And they get the hook back and sort of reconnect to the boat. He says, "Look, you know what? I think I was gonna overlook this, but technically you are past the regular hours. I'm gonna have to fine you 1 coin for being out with a personal boat beyond the normal hours."
What's the fine for being a drunken bastard, you shit?
Oh, he doesn't. Oh, so he doesn't mean that. Of course not.
About dereliction of fucking duty.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
all
we
all
can't
those
be out
hands
here.
like
What? It's illegal to be out on the canal at night? Like, what's your problem? We're just out here for a pleasure cruise. We got robbed. And then you're going to come in here and fine us so that, what, you can go off and buy more alcohol? Sir? May we go? Are we done here?
Is Hix still under the blanket?
No, I like head out and I'm all of a sudden just spitting because I've been trying to hold it in this whole time, but Bram speaking up, I'm just like, fuck you, cop.
Amazing. So he sort of reddens in frustration, and a couple of the other Bluecoats become visible on the boat, and some of them put their hands on their pistols, and he lets out. So it feels like a bunch of people did an action there. It feels like maybe in the command realm.
Someone.
No. Yeah, well, yeah. Who wants to make that specific role? I feel like Jilly tried to make a sort of like a consorting thing. Bram and Hix kind of went in the command direction. You could try.
Yeah, sorry, Kristin. I don't want to.
No.
Jump in front of what you were doing.
Go for it. Command that.
I'm gonna aid you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take that aid for sure.
Yeah, you can also push yourself if you want. Well, I don't know if you can aid and push
No.
yourself.
Yeah. Okay, 6.
Okay.
And because he is being commanded by me, I have a perk that when I command people who are frightened. Oh, I should have taken 1 extra die. So maybe I just get that extra die for nothing, and you don't have to aid me, Ben.
He doesn't. Yeah, he gets it for free as well, with at least
great.
for the second aid. But okay, so I'm going to partially reduce the effect simply because these are Bluecoats. They're a tier above you. So the Bluecoats are tier 2 compared to tier 1, which means that sometimes actions will have a reduced effect. So he sort of sways a little bit on the boat as he's sort of drunken and has just gotten up from this hit. He looks at you and says, "Let's make it 1 coin and not 2. And we'll let you go."
As I said, my purse got stolen. So really, this is rather unfair.
You're not in the business of catching criminals. Isn't
What's
that
your
what
name,
you're
sir?
doing out here?
Yeah, what's your name?
My name is Wilkes Danbury.
Wilkes Danbury. Is he lying? I'm going to look at the sleepy woman. Is his name Wilkes Danbury? Officer Danbury, is that your name?
Yes, his name is Danbury. That's his.
What's the name of his supervisor, miss? What's the name of Wilkes Danbury's supervisor? I'd like to know.
We're
I'd
going
like to
full
know
Karen.
who I
full
can.
Karen, I know.
I'd like to know who I can talk to about Officer Wilkes Danbury coming out here and extorting a private vessel and not aiding us when we have reported a clear robbery, and instead is going to drunkenly stumble onto our boat, hit our engine master in the head, and then stand up and demand our money for this? I'd like to know the name of Wilkes Danbury's supervisor. Is it you, miss?
All right, yeah. So before they respond, let's make that roll. So that seems like command sway. Yeah, however you want to play it.
Yeah, I mean.
So,
I'm gonna...
and to clarify, the success that I rolled on my command meant that they were going to let us go
Yes.
if we paid the thing.
Yes. Yeah, that meant it was success at you could.
So
yeah,
no change in the
This is just
status
such
quo.
an insult to Hix. It's just like
I know.
It's just like
Yes.
these Bluecoats
Yeah, they come in here.
are kicking us around, and I cannot abide it. And
Yeah. Yeah,
I make no apology.
absolutely. So
Okay,
basically,
I'm
like,
gonna-
Nothing wrong.
yeah, 2 successes will probably get you. Well, we'll see. I think it'll talk you out of it. So basically, the reduced effect is that, like, I mean, because I don't know, it was sort of this tense interaction for him. That was my sort of thought. Anyway, go ahead,
Great.
Ben.
Well, I mean, I was thinking I would sacrifice position for effect.
I think that you did that mechanically. Yeah,
Love it. Great. I rolled a 6.
Danbury looks at you. He says, "All right, have it your way. My commanding officer, my lieutenant, is Andre Moreland. If you'd like to bring it up with him, I'm sure he'd be very interested." He steps back onto his boat and says, "Let's get the fuck out of here." And
Have
the
a good
engine
night,
moves.
Wilkes Danbury. Pleasure to meet you. I hope you have a safe evening and that nothing happens to you on your watching over the people of this fair city at night.
Yeah, the boat just sort of streams into the distance south of you.
Fucking cops, dude.
You have made it. Yeah.
I mean, I was willing to seduce him, but that seemed like maybe the better option, anyways.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully it saved you from having a very unpleasant experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not worried about that bit.
Yeah, I don't presume to know what you like, but Wilkes Danbury isn't what I would like.
You're right.
So, go ahead, Jamie.
No, they were this close to going to chase after the butchers. Just
Would have
Just so
been
you know,
good.
they're-
Sorry.
And you
were
did do a
right.
great
You
job,
were
Varric.
right, man.
thank you. I'd like to think yes.
You were right. I should have just stayed under the coat. I should have gotten out of the boat, probably.
Swam a little bit.
I just
do you
fucking
think they'll
hate that.
remember? Do you think they'll remember their other head?
I mean, you did point to the boat and ask them
Yes.
to examine a bit of
No,
it, but
yes.
Perhaps he was too drunk, and after a little head bunk, maybe he won't recognize the very specific and unique statues that you have had carved onto them.
Lots of people have statues, right?
Not.
Yeah, in a building. Like an art gallery.
I like the art gallery on the water. Very
Oh,
nice.
it's no word against it. I'm kind of attached to it now.
They're nice sculptures. It's weird, but it's great.
The evening ends. You end up arriving. Well, it's still like very, very early morning. It's that moment when you're going through the night and you start to realize, oh, day is coming. Like there's this tiny bit and the day-night cycle in Duskfall, in our version of it, it's pretty dim even at the brightest day. But there's a little bit of light when you arrive in Six Towers. You eventually arrive around the Black Surf Caves, which are on the east side. It's a sort of ruin. Six Towers used to be this beautiful ancient district full of beautiful manor homes kept by noble families. But in the last 100 years, it's really collapsed into a sunken ruin. These old estates are now full of vagrants and sort of abandoned by the noble families, and everything is falling apart. The gardens are overgrown with ivy that like consumes whole buildings. You come up on this ruined little park, this sort of dismal place, and a couple of benches, and you hear some people talking. You hear one say, "Oh, when are they going to get here?" And another voice says, "Stop complaining." There's a deep female voice. "You act like you have been stabbed." He says, "I'm an actor. I'm used to my beauty sleep." Three people are waiting on the stone benches for you. There's a man with a waxed mustache and stubble. There's a tall, muscled woman, and there is a very small, auburn-haired woman in a red coat. You know them. These are the core cast of an acting troupe called the Velvet Patchworks. They just so happen to be drugged. You guys come close, and they see you, and Theodore, the mustache one, says, "Oh, finally!" And Medley says, "Oh, shut up, Theodore. They're right here." And they come down to the shoreline to meet you. They greet you and start immediately. Sort of, they say Medley comes up to the shorter one in this like intense coat. She's short. She's got these expressive ink-stained hands and these sharp, intense eyes. And she says, "Have you got it? Is everything good?"
we've got it. I mean, a few of our members even tasted it, and it seemed effective, would you say, Hix?
I'd say the effect is what was intended. Yes.
So, Kristin, question for you. You sometimes, under the name of Mary Beth, you often will make costumes for the Velvet Patchworks. Are they aware that you are a member of this smuggler gang, and would they recognize you or not?
That is an excellent question. No, they are not aware.
Okay.
And no, they would not recognize me, although if you want me to roll for that, I could.
No, I think you're totally unrecognizable. Yeah. They get into the boats and start taking these barrels out. And Medley Everett, the playwright and leader of the Velvet Patchwork, says, "Oh, well, I'm sorry Mary Beth isn't here. She must have slipped off. She said she was going to be here this morning. I don't know what's happened to her. But thank you very much. Here is your payment." So she gives you 4 coin. 4 coin is a great deal of money. This is sort of a standard score, pretty decent amount of loot. She says, "This is up front. And then once we've sold it all, we'll have the rest of the money for you and whoever your suppliers are. So you'll get 2 coin, and there'll be another 2 for the people on the far end."
Thank you so much. And as far as Mary Beth goes, I'm sure, she works so hard. She's probably just sleeping in, perhaps because, she's so tired from all the excellent work she's been doing, pulling late nights and such.
Yeah, I hope she's all right.
The big woman.
Costumes are excellent.
the big woman, Epola Sour, comes up to you, Tess, and says, "I don't think I've seen you around at the plays. What was your name?"
Tess will pull her cap a little bit lower and sort of modulate her voice even a little bit more and say, Tess Buck.
Oh, nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. She just hefts another one of these barrels over her shoulder. Is there anything else you'd like to communicate with the Patchworks before they head their separate ways?
Looking forward to your next work.
Absolutely, Aldo will break a leg,
Theodore says, "Well, we open in about a month, so we're looking forward to it as well. You should absolutely be there on opening night, if you can."
I wouldn't miss it. We can all go, yes?
Yes.
How many? Would you have any comped tickets?
Theodore sort of looks perplexed, and Epola says, "Well, I think each of us gets 2, is not that noted?" and Theodore slaps her on the back a little bit. She says, "Oh, I don't know if we have any left."
Never mind then.
All right, so you have finished your score. You take the boats back. Do you head back? So you've got sort of 2 layers at the moment. Do you head back to the Queen's Magnolia, or do you head back to the Orca's Tooth?
I think probably the Queen's Magnolia.
Okay.
Let's send the Leviathan Hunters back to unless anyone wants to go to the Orca's Tooth for some reason.
I feel like my lab is not there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, your lab's at the Queen's Magnolia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the sort of early growing light of the morning, you head back across the city to Silkshore. Silkshore is a bohemian district. People often say that there is not a bare candle in Silkshore. This is a reference to the many colorful types of lantern coverings that are used in Silkshore. It's a district that like the most colorful place in Duskfall in a large way. It's a canal district, sort of the most like Venice-like of any part of Duskfall. There are gondoliers who are passing through the streets and nod at you as you pass, and you eventually bring the rough penny around and come to a sunken canal entrance that is right underneath a large, beautiful building called the Queen's Magnolia. This is what is it called? A brothel, run by Madame Belorma, a woman, a Severosi woman, who has generously allowed you to take to use the basement area, which no one uses, as your lair. It used to be extremely muddy and gross, and like the rooms were essentially unusable. In the meantime, Aldo has built an electric sort of system, so it is now actively lit if you turn on the lights. It's a little bit less muddy. It's still kind of gross, but you like slide the rough penny in, and you arrive back at the Queen's Magnolia. You all receive so you receive 4 coin for the crew.
Honestly, it's the easiest money we've ever made.
That was amazing.
Most money we've ever made.
Feels good to make money again.
Yeah, it was like the easiest thing we've ever done. And we also got money for it.
I mean, for a minute there, it was touch and go. I thought I was going to have to blow someone's head off, but I guess not.
I wish you would have. Because that Wilkes Danbury is going to have to die one way or another.
He can get his, but I am certainly glad you did not shoot 10 Bluecoats.
What do you think I am? Some kind of fool?
I'll-
I don't like that you didn't answer that.
he just like turns the corner.
To the left. I love it. So in terms of heat, so at the end of a score, things happen for the crew. You get the payoff of the money that you were going to get. There is also heat. So depending on how intense the mission was or how much noise you made, noise both metaphorically and literally, you have certain things. I think since you like had this like shouting conversation with a blue coat, I'd probably give you 2 heat, which is contained standard exposure. So that's pretty good. That's the
Makes
lowest
sense.
heat you've ever gotten from a score,
Yeah.
I think, as well.
It would have been a lot worse if I had shot that.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
It would have
you,
been a lot
Hix.
better if we would have just let Varric talk our way out. Like, get them to go follow the butchers.
I was hoping he'd fall into the water. It was gonna be a good thing, you know.
I thought that was yeah.
Yeah, it worked well. So then another thing that will happen is entanglements. This one may show up a little bit post score, but in the meantime, you guys have moved into downtime phase, which is that you can now each take 2 downtime actions. There's a list of them, which just you sort of learn them more as you watch. But yeah, how are you? Does anyone want to start with the downtime action? What are you guys up to? What's of interest?
I
Good
would
question.
like to. Well, how much heat do we have currently?
You should have 5 because I think it was down to 3. It was at 3 after last session. We had a little bit of a
Yes.
confusion, but yeah, I think it's
I
5.
think I'd like to reduce heat by finding and murdering Wilkes Danbury.
What? Oh my gosh.
Well, now.
Everyone knows you reduce heat by killing a cop.
Well, this is the okay. So my thinking about this is
Yeah.
the only one who was in our boat and got a good look at it.
Mm.
So, and I mean, it's a pretty ostentatious boat. It's perhaps memorable, and I don't know if he's going to tell people. But also, he just made me mad.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Like he shouldn't be like demanding money of anybody.
Yeah.
So
I would probably.
That's almost like another score.
Yeah, I feel like it would either be another score or I'd have a project clock located with learning how to find him in a vulnerable enough position to make a move against him. Which I know is less fun than
See
being able
his
to just,
eyes.
like-
Look at this.
Ben's like, come on.
He does not accept.
I just want to crawl in his window with my piano wire and do the job, and then roll the dice and have you tick down the heat. Why do you got to complicate this? No, I get it. Okay, cool. Well,
Cool.
I'm gonna
be my
hold
call.
off on my downtime action and think about it a little more.
Great. Let me throw a few rumors at you of things that are happening in the world right now.
Okay.
Just of things that are going on in the world. Here's what you hear sort of floating on the wind. In the next few days in Duskwall, it's pretty quiet, sort of early summer, which in Duskwall is still pretty cold. You learned that the Leviathan hunter ships Terrapin's Blade and Cagrafor left the docks today. Each ship was carrying 500 men with multiple harpoon ships and dinghies stocked for a long journey. Their captains promised to return with 1,000 tons of Leviathan blood to be processed into electroplasm and power the lightning wall. Another rumor, you learned that, you've been hearing news about this for weeks. The Assembly is facing elections in several key districts, Char Hollow, Crow's Foot, and the Docks. Most of the races seem cinched up, except for that of Char Hollow, a poor laborer's district, which happens to be where Bram is from. A dark horse candidate from a party called the People's Explosive Party is currently very close to potentially leading against the People's Prosperity Party. This is someone you know. His name is Robert Boom. Formerly an arms maker, a fireworks salesman, an engine boy on a steamship, a factory worker, and a demolitions expert, Boom has made a life out of combustion and flame. He's been endorsed by a strange collection of city figures. He was endorsed by an opera singer named Caravan Chevet, a coalition of construction workers in Charter Hall, even more strangely by an anonymous group of political firebrands who write articles in the Illuminator and the Night Market Missive. The royal family has made no statement on Robert Boom, but he will be giving his final rally in the Dogtown neighborhood of Char Hollow in 2 days' time.
Well, Bram is there.
You also hear a rumor that a political fugitive escaped from the city a few weeks ago. They were a minor figure in Duskfall politics, but it was hoped that their interrogation would lead to the wanted criminal Florencia Dietrich. However, the criminal was able to escape cleanly. The Ministry of Preservation made an announcement this week. They declared that the projected tonnages of food that will be brought to Duskfall from satellite cities and farmlands in the coming months, they declared those numbers. The numbers reflect the continuing increase in food production to Duskfall, a 10-year upward trend after the construction of the Tainswell rail line. The ministry promises food surpluses to all districts. You also, Hix, you hear some rumors from a Six Towers urchin who says that they saw some Bluecoats sneaking around in the middle of the night without patrol lanterns or carriages. The urchins were mostly drunk and perhaps mistaken, but that is all you heard. So, yeah, those are just a few of the rumors of what's going on in Duskfall at the moment.
Most of the people I hang out with are half drunk and often mistaken, so this is like no surprise.
Yep.
like my friends in this crew. At least one of them.
Exactly. So yeah, you can do whatever you want. We can do the Robert Boom rally if you'd like to go there. Yeah, what would you guys like to do?
I would like to talk with Tess and kind of after the job, say like, it's just you were so smooth with the Velvet Patchworks. Like I thought they were going to recognize you for a moment, and then you brushed them off, and it's just I don't. Every time I try that, it just sort of starts to spiral. But how do you do it?
Well, I'm not totally sure you're giving yourself quite enough credit, because I did think you stayed quite focused in the boat, but
I was 1 second away from telling them, do you know who my father is? Honestly, it was
okay. Well,
close.
You need to not jump to that quite so quickly. So maybe, do you know do you know who my father is? Maybe you tuck that further down in your subconscious.
It's what I've used for most of my life. You know, it's very effective.
In some contexts, I'm sure it is. But maybe we can work on some other scripts, perhaps some other persona. So you are a Lomond, and you're quite posh and can be intimidating, I'm sure, when you want to be. But
oh yes.
perhaps other characters, perhaps other sort of scripts to work through.
Yeah, I've been working on my Bram impression.
Oh, I would love to hear it.
I like fighting and drinking and punching ghosts. Do you think I've captured it?
It's close. I mean, I think you're getting there. Perhaps, well, I mean, truthfully, I'm just the costumer, but I do hear the actors talk about sort of delving deeper into character motivations and what drives Bram, would you say?
Oh, I like poor people. Right?
I mean, ideologically, he likes poor people.
Yes.
Do you think there might be more to that, or
poor person?
And maybe why might someone like poor people or feel alignment with the downtrodden of society?
I don't know. They're all so dirty and smelly and just get in the way, you know.
Right. Well, I think there's our problem. As long as you can't truly, well, and again, I'm the costumer, but as long as you can't truly sympathize with Brom's position, I don't know if you'll be able to invoke Brom properly. And if you can't invoke Brom properly, then I don't think you'll be able to sort of play that character when you need to, you know, when you're out and talking to Union sympathizers and you need to get them on your side, perhaps, or something like that.
Oh, well, I hate Ruther's engine. I agree with him on that.
And why
chicken.
might you? Just in terms of class, poor people, why would you hate him?
Because he's a bastard. He wants to bring down people like my family. I'm the only one who can bring down my family.
Right. Right. Your incredibly rich family.
Yes.
Perhaps you should talk to some poor people. Have you considered it?
I talked to the entire crew.
I mean, Brom might have some insight for you, is all I'm saying.
I talked to Aldo once about the war. He seemed to think that I was somewhat naive about the whole thing. Can you believe it?
Yes.
Okay. So talk to more people about their perspective.
It might be a helpful starting point, so that then, of course, you can fool and manipulate them better.
Of course. Thank you.
So I'm going to, if we're good with that, I'm going to leap us a couple days forward to Bram. You are standing in you know, what do I call it? Dogtown, this neighborhood of Char Hollow, with a bunch of people. There's this big crowd. There's all these posters on the wall that say, "Boom is doom," written in this like very intense red framing. And you catch this speech of Robert Boom. He is flanked by a bunch of your friends, the short fusers, who are, you know, officially called the People's Prosperity Party, People's Explosive Party. Sorry. Yep. But he's speaking and he says, He's interesting because, like, when you meet him in person, he's sort of this weird-looking man who's like constantly looking, you know, not looking at you in the eye, and is this sort of this strange old man. But when he gets on a stage, he just has this energy. He's suddenly like full of enthusiasm, and all of his gestures make sense suddenly on the stage. He says, "Children of Char Hollow, workers and washerwomen of Duskfall, my friends, I stand before you proud. I stand before you full of courage, because tomorrow this district goes back into your hands. No one ever thought a man like me could be elected to the assembly. I am a child of this place. I lived down on Skinner Street with my mum and my father and my 6 brothers. I worked in Coleridge. I worked in the docks. I'm still not great with reading, honestly, which I imagine many of you can relate to." He stands up to his full height. His like white majestic hair is blown back. He says, "I have been telling you the future is coming. You cannot stop it, and tomorrow it will be here. Vote, vote. Vote for a new city, one where the people have their say, not just the crown, not just the Leviathan hunters and the Ministry of Preservation. You, and you, and you," and he points Bram at you, "and you."
Bram's just grinning ear to ear and like licking the split in his lip because it hurts because he's smiling so much.
Yeah. You can see like tears forming in Robert Boom's eyes, and then he turns back and looks at a little 11-year-old boy covered in soot on the stage behind him. And he says, "All right, take it away, Ash Boy."
Ash Boy!
the little boy, smoking a cigarette, shouts a single word, "Ash Boy!" And then he lights a fuse and runs. Robert Boom doesn't say anything. He lights his own cigar. He pulls up the collar of his coat, and then right behind him, an enormous explosion rocks the stone K. Like this, like whole huge thing. It's like bits of wood that fly into the audience. Robert Broom is just like completely still, untouched by this thing. People start cheering all around you. And
Boom is doom!
Boom is doom, and Robert Boom just smiles.
Always got to play the hits.
I imagine the crowd's going wild in a couple senses.
Oh yes, yeah. People are like, there's some screaming of like surprise and confusion, and then also some just like, whoa, like full throated excitement. Does Bram do anything or approach Robert after the speech?
Yeah. I mean, is this the sort of thing where we would expect the Bluecoats to show up pretty quickly? I imagine the scene is going to clear.
Yes, likely so. You have a couple minutes probably.
Yeah. Okay. If no one else is around him, I will go up on what's left of the stage.
Yes. Yeah. And he sees you and goes, Bram Borden, and he grabs your hand and grips it ridiculously tight.
Mr. Boom, it's a real pleasure. It's an honor. Great speech.
Thank you. Are you voting tomorrow, Mr. Borden?
Of course I am. Who do you think I am? I put up half those posters, didn't I?
You did indeed. Claps his hand on your shoulder. This is gonna happen. I really think it is.
I honestly didn't think I'd see the day. But we've climbed a lot. What will you do when you win?
I'm gonna change this city.
So, do you think there'll be a big event?
And I kind of nod at the debris.
Like right away, or you're gonna settle in first?
I don't know. I mean, I hope there will be sort of grassroots explosions across the face of the land. Really, that would be the ideal.
Well, we can hope to see it. Show these pieces of shit that rule this town what we really mean.
Oh yes. That's exactly it. Claps his hand on your shoulder and strides away, his big coat flowing behind him. And Ash Boy nearby goes, "Hey there, bro!" And then leaps off and hangs like a rag over like a clothesline and just like zip lines off into the night.
I tussle his hair before he zip lines away.
I love it. Yeah, perfect. Amazing. Just for you guys and for the audience, we're probably going to go just a few more minutes since we started late. So we'll have like a full length session next week. So I'm going to just dictate a few little moments here. Another one is Varric. You receive an invitation in the mail. I'm not sure where it would come to with the Queen's Magnolia, or do you have a flat where it would go? Where would you find a paper invitation?
Yeah, I think Varric could have a flat now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, not in bright stone yet. I don't think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Present. Nice. In Silkshore, in the docks.
In Silkshore, he's probably within 2 blocks of the Queen's Magnolia. He doesn't really have anywhere else to go. He's just sort of feeling like, okay, well now I'm doing reasonably well. I can get to my place.
Pay some rent.
Not be living out of my boats or out of the basement of the brothel.
Yes,
so, yeah.
Indeed. So you receive a letter with it is made of very thick, very high quality parchment and with gold embossing on it. And you see, of course, the sigil of House Fairwind. It has a beautiful boat on it with flowing sails. You have been invited to go see Kirill Fairwind, your friend.
Varric is going to put on kind of a nice flowy sort of indigo shirt and a cravat, and get out a cane and kind of walk on over to, I imagine it's in Brightstone, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so Brightstone.
He's going to tap a shoulder and Merrick, the Taikarosi pigeon gifted to him by Aldo. He's going to hop on his shoulder.
Yep. So as you walk into Brightstone, you particularly notice there are tons of people who all have these birds on their shoulders. They're Tycherosi. Tycherosi is this distant land that is where people are it's like rumored to have aspects of demon blood. Like some people from Tycheros have completely black eyes with no whites, and or other strange traits that indicate that they're from Tycheros. The birds are similar. They've got these beautiful sort of black and red plumages that are very interesting, and some of like very differing colors. They are gorgeous, large birds. Varric, his bird is a pigeon painted different colors that was gifted to him by Aldo, who convinced him, or at least attempted to convince him that this was a true Tycherosi bird. So there are a few sort of strange looks craned Varric's way as they as they come through. But eventually, Varric reaches the beautiful estate of House Fairwind, who's one of the noble families of Duskfall. You come inside through a side door. You're let in to this sort of secondary salon, and there's no wait. No one is sitting there taking their time for you. You don't have to sit there and wait. Kirill is there waiting for you and stands up enthusiastically. Varric, it is so good to see you.
Kirill, my friend, my friend.
He embraces you in a full hug. He says, "How are things? What's been going on for you? How's business?"
Business is booming. We have entered into an exclusive contract with a very high-end theatre company who are going to be supplying all of their needs for the foreseeable future.
I did not know that actors were so in need of the shipping industry. You are an innovator in the business world.
Props, set design, materials for the costumes. There's so much logistics that goes into it. You have no idea.
I see. So is it a touring company? I've heard they're less good than the ones that sit down.
No. They have a residence actually in Six Towers.
In 6 Towers, I see. Well, that's wonderful. That's very exciting.
It's like one of these like pop-ups. It's very trendy at the moment. They go into the location, and it's very immersive. You kind of feel the poverty around you. And it adds to the atmosphere.
Oh, I know so many people here in Brightstone who would absolutely love to pay for an experience like that.
Yeah. Well, let me know.
I have several opportunities that might be of interest to you. We've been talking at these, taking you out to these parties. I heard a couple jobs that might be of interest to you. Do you know of the Keltree sisters?
Keltree sisters.
They were a little bit above our age. We didn't go to have the same tutors as them or anything. Probably 10 years our seniors. Though the Rangers, of course. They are from the Keltree house, of course. One of the lesser families. But they are in need of some people to transport some things that wouldn't want to go through normal customs. They've obtained several paintings which have been done, which have been forbidden by the spirit wardens, those who run the church and make sure that no occult things come into the city. They need these paintings transported to their estate. So they are willing to pay. There's another group, the Water Lily Society, who are quite the wonderful group. They have found a seller bringing Tycherosi birds from across the Deathlands, but are looking for someone to bring them from one of the Death Gates that leads out into the Deathlands to their estate as well. So those are, I spoke with both of them. They would both be interested in your services if you're interested in providing them.
Yes, I would definitely be interested. I may, in fact, have a way into the Deathlands already set aside. So,
oh, really?
It could go very well.
Perfect. You are making some good connections already. Well, you simply speak with your friends. Let me know if either of these are of interest to them, and we can discuss more later. Does that sound right?
Of course. And would you be interested in any recompense for this favor? Putting me in touch?
Oh, I mean, a coin off of whatever you make would certainly not be offensive. But I would hate to get in the way of your business.
I'm sure
hopefully we can help each other out.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I must be going. The vessel is coming back from the Dagger Isles, and I simply must be taking a look at everything and doing the inspections. You know how it is. It's being a merchant, a bit complicated.
Yes.
You know.
I know. Yes. Peas in the pod, two of us.
It's brothers. Take care, my friend.
Yes.
The door is
So
like
long.
closed on you by the butler. Wonderful. So you just had this interaction, and then we're gonna have our entanglement. So Jilly, where are you when the Bluecoats pick you up?
Oof.
I am in the Six Towers district,
Okay.
and I'm visiting Daniel and Batilde.
Okay. So you're in the kitchen. Batilde is working. She's just like sweeping up the house, and she says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, love. I didn't know you were coming. I just wanted to make sure things were clean." And meanwhile, Daniel is sitting there with his dinner. His hands are both shaking. He's got a fork and a knife, and he's eating. He says, "She's okay, but Batilde, she knows it's fine. She's fine. It's good. Would you like more? Would you like more? Would you like some of this, Jilly?"
I'll take just a bite. And Batilde, of course, I wish you wouldn't worry about it.
She always worries. She does. She always worries. She does. You know that.
It's very good. Did you cook it, or?
Oh, I did, dear. I made it. He sometimes can cook, but it's hard. In the middle of it, he'll sometimes sort of wander off. He doesn't know exactly what he's doing.
Right. It could be dangerous with pork, so probably for the best.
Yeah, he's a bit better. When he's got his fellow Railjacks working with him, they can work on things, and it's a little bit better. They can help direct him moment to moment.
Right.
Can't they, love? And she comes over and kisses Daniel on the forehead, right sort of next to the wound on his forehead that you recognize. So this conversation is happening. You hear dum 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 on the door.
I'll get that. I'll get that. And she'll make her way to the door. She'll open it a crack. She'll see who's there, and she'll try and slip out the door and close it behind her to avoid them overhearing anything.
Yeah, she slips out and sees Wilkes Danbury and two other officers. Wilkes has got a bandage over part of his head from his fall into the boat. And he says, "Would you mind coming with us, miss?"
Officers, what on earth could be the trouble? I can't imagine what's wrong.
They, ignoring your pleas, two of them grab you hard by the arms, and you are dragged to the nearest commissar. You are brought into this Bluecoat station, sat down behind a table, and sort of tied up to the chair, and eventually a man comes in. You have seen portraits of Andre Morland. He is one of probably the two most important Bluecoats in the city. He's one of the best known, and he rose to his rank on a filthy tide of corruption and vice. The papers that dare speak out against Bluecoat corruption tell stories of Morland's parties where he and his cronies gorged themselves on confiscated goods, Dagger Isle oxen calves that had been smuggled into the city, Catalan spices, Tycherosi wines. You remember seeing portraits of him, an ugly man with a chiseled, gaunt face and an eternal arrogant smirk. The man before you is a far more prosperous and healthy version of that emaciated man. Morland's uniform bulges, but the smirk and the clever eyes remain the same. He is eating a rotisserie chicken with his bare hands. He takes a couple bites, says, "You hungry?"
No,
"Are you sure?"
not for whatever food you have, no.
See, suit yourself. Morland, by the way, it's nice to meet you. Reaches out a hand. He wipes his greasy fingers on his uniform, reaches out a hand.
I will take it, but reluctantly.
Okay, great.
Barely grazing his hand there.
Yeah, he says, "So sorry to have brought you out. We're not finding you're finding your name on any school records, miss. What did you say your name was again?"
What name are you looking for?
That's an interesting way to phrase that question.
My name is Jilly Youngblood.
Jilly. You see, I've got this stupid bloody boy working in the office. Christopher, his name is. He must have made some mistake. We would hate to have to fine you for not having the correct paperwork. That would just be such an inconvenience. You see, maybe you can answer a question for me. But about 12 weeks ago, there was an incident just inside the Lightning Wall. There was a Sparkcraft vessel, definitely outside the purview of civilian permit, that's for certain. Not that I begrudge any man or woman their pleasures. Mind you, I certainly have my own. But, you see, I've heard a tale of some new folks plying their trade in Duskfall. There are lots of proprietors these days and very few permit requests. Now, we don't know everything. We've heard a few names. Borden, a washed-up old fist fighter. Some fellow named Varric with a posh accent. There's a doctor who's not on our records. And then some sprightly boy who calls himself a mastermind. See, my dear, you're a young person. You've got a bright future, I can tell that by seeing you. And I certainly say that to plenty of little brick-for-brains little shits, but you know it's true for you. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about those folks.
I'm afraid I don't know who you're referring to. I don't think I've met anyone, Borden, you say, or posh accent, Ferric or Varric?
Sure. That's very interesting. See, because we've got a couple witnesses who say they've been seeing a fifth person with them, particularly that officer, Mr. Danbury.
Are you sure he was entirely in his right state of mind?
No, I'm certain that he wasn't. I would be displeased with my officers if any of them was completely uninebriated on the job. You see, here's the thing, miss. A lot of people have pretenses. They got pretenses about some sort of purity, about achieving some ideal, being a blue coat, you got to do something. The thing is, everybody in this world is just making sure they got something to eat, some place to sleep, some place to take a shit. That's what they want. I'm a part of the same group. I just want to make sure that I have the information that I need. And the thing is, it's just you and me now. So you, as part of this interrogation, have a choice. He offers you can pay him 3 coin. He and the officers will beat you, which will give you level 2 harm. Or you can tell them what they want to know, which will give +3 heat. You could also resist each of those consequences separately, using your resist.
I will get beat up.
Ooh. All right, you can choose to resist that, so you potentially won't take the harm.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and roll that. So you've got so this will be a prowess resist. So how many dots do you have in prowess?
3.
All right, great. Roll 3 dice and take 6 stress minus whatever you roll. Minus the highest thing you roll.
6.
All right. So you don't take any stress. So how do you avoid being like? So these guys take you out back behind the commissar station and like try to punch the crap out of you. How do you resist it?
Well, as they're beginning to menace me, I sort of drop into a more sultry tone. And I say, oh boys, I'm sure we could figure out a way that we maybe don't have to engage in physical contact of such a violent nature.
All right. So in terms of the resistance, we'll just sort of cut away from that in whatever way that wants to be interpreted. So yeah, you make it out of that interview with Andre Moreland, so you don't increase heat, you don't have to pay them anything, and they did not get any information about the crew. That is, unfortunately, despite the great cliffhanger, that is where we will end tonight's session. With one more fact. The next morning, you all learned that Robert Boom has been elected to the King's Assembly.
Yay! The future is coming!
One little fact. You kidding me? My entire character rests on this.
Boom!
Yay, Boom!
So there are-
What
is-
position does Ash Boy have in his administration?
We'll have to see what he's secretary of. So yeah, this King's Assembly has 27 seats. So now you've got one person on the King's Assembly who you know. So pretty big deal.
Hey, thanks
Um,
for all those subscriptions.
Yeah. Oh my
I
gosh.
just
Wow.
saw 4 pop up. Thanks, Kate. You're awesome.
Yes. Yes. Thank you all for being part of this. Thank you so much for your patience in the craziness that was starting this. We are so excited to keep streaming the Contraband. Tell your friends, get them on board. It's been so much fun for us. Thank you. Are we going to be going to a raid, Carson? Will that be happening?
Yeah, stick around and we'll send everybody off.
Yep.
A couple minutes here.
Yes. So yeah, that'll transfer. So go ahead and give some likes to the people, comment on what they're doing. It's just a nice way for us to support other people who are streaming and doing the same kind of work that we're doing. Anyway, thank you so much. We're so excited to keep doing this next week at the same time as was scheduled for this week. And yeah, have a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much.
Bye.